Founded more than 150 years ago, Leeds Rhinos, as they're now known, are one of the most storied and successful clubs in the country. The Rhinos men's team have been playing at Headingley since 1890 and rose to prominence at the start of the 21st century with a golden era that saw them win 8 Super League Grand Finals, 2 Challenge Cups and 3 World Club Challenges against Australian opposition over a 14-year period. Iconic players such as Kevin Sinfield, Rob Burrow, Jamie Peacock, Danny Maguire and Jamie Jones-Buchanan helped the Rhinos create an extraordinary sporting legacy and maintain their position as one of the strongest rugby league clubs in the world. But while the men's team has a long and rich history, only the past decade has seen the development of other variants of the sport. In recent years, Leeds have been at the forefront of this growth, with the club now running women's, physical disability and wheelchair sides to sit alongside their men's team, all under the Team Rhinos umbrella. Wheelchair Rugby League is a wheelchair-based version of the game. The game shares many features with the running form of rugby league. There are 2 teams and 1 ball, which can only be passed backwards. Each team retains possession for a maximum of 6 tackles. The same offside rules apply and points are scored by either tries or conversions over the posts, which are taken with the fist instead of the boot. And of course, the hits can be absolutely brutal.
Right, let's get cracking. Massive thanks for coming down. This is the start of something amazing. Last year we moved under the foundation properly. This year we're starting a second team, which is incredible, and it's an amazing thing to have now, having that depth. We're going to do 45 minutes, quite intense chair movement. We've got 4 different drills we're going to do to get you moving in your chairs, get you used to the chairs. So let's get stuck into it then. Right, using this space we've got here, if everyone just starts pushing around in your chair, getting used to moving around in your chair.
Unlike other wheelchair sports, what makes Wheelchair Rugby League unique is that people without disabilities, known as able-bodied athletes, are allowed to compete at the top level alongside those with disabilities. The sport is also unique in the fact that people of any gender and age can play alongside each other, leading it to be regarded as the most inclusive sport in the world.
That's it, mate. That's it.
I've been playing the game 10 years and 6 teams when I started playing. In the first couple of years, we lost every game we played. Like 2 or 3 years, every game we played, we lost. But those young players, having the opportunity to wear that shirt and come out and play, meant the world to them. It means the world to them now. It means the world to me.
Leeds were started as they were the whipping boys, but they always rocked up. They always went all the way to the last whistle. And they were just sponges, just kept taking it in. It will come was something that they used to say. It'll come, it will be our turn eventually, and they got it eventually.
Kept turning up, kept backing each other, supporting each other. And the group of players we've got now is still that same group of players. I think the biggest thing in sport is the people. If you've got the right people who care about each other and don't put themselves above the team, that is how you win stuff. 2018 was the turning point where we won the grand final. 2019, league leaders, and we won the Challenge Cup as well. And we actually went on to win the next 3 Challenge Cups. Now looked at as athletic, and your players are athletes, and you compete at the top level. And we're now up to 20 plus teams in the country. Do you know, we've got teams, Edinburgh Giants, all the way down to London Roosters. Do you know, we've got teams in Wales. Like the growth of the game has been huge in the past few years, and it's an amazing opportunity for us to showcase how good our game is.
Feels like there's a new club springing up every week for the whole wheelchair competition. 2023 has without doubt been the best season we've ever had, and I'm sure that that's because of the amazing springboard that the Rugby League World Cup gave us. Genuine increase in participations. By the end of the season, we'll have more than tripled the amount of players that have ever signed up to play in a given season.
I think this is the best team in Wheelchair Rugby League. Not just because of how we play, but I think how we look after each other, how we back each other, support each other. That's how we're successful, and I really want that to follow on this year. And that's something I'm going to lean on you guys to put into the newer players as well, is that when someone scores a try, everyone goes and gets round them. Do you know, nobody sits back. When someone does something amazing, or if someone even misses a tackle, you get round them and you say, next time, mate, we'll do it. That's support.
Do you know, when some people grow up wanting to be doctors or nurses or astronauts, for me, it was like a real one, is join the army. Joined at 16, disappeared off into the system. First time I went to Afghanistan, it was very much like you think of in films, like the conventional fighting. You'd be shooting each other, throwing grenades at each other, and you'd actually be fighting. And by this time I went out there, a year and a half later, the Taliban knew they couldn't win, so they just stopped attacking us and fighting us and just started planting bombs everywhere. The IED threat was through the roof. So you would then not use the obvious route. So if you came to a bridge, you'd go around it, but then they're like, the Taliban were like, okay, you're not using the bridges, so we're going to put them 10 metres away from the bridge. And then you'd go 5 metres away, 6 metres away from the bridge. You get into this like psychological battle of how to cross a bridge. And I'd been out there about 2 months. We were crossing this open bit of desert and we came to this irrigation ditch. We stop, we get the metal detectors out, and the metal detectors do their thing. We don't find anything, so we're like, okay, let's go for it. So you're still a bit cautious going through, so you go through one at a time. I went through the ditch and the device was buried in the ground, and these devices aren't very big. I mean, you could all step over it and not even know it was there, and I was the unlucky soldier who stepped on the device. It's not like in films where there's this big explosion or anything. It's literally a split second. As soon as that contact is made on the device, it's just a boom. Dust goes everywhere, you know, a huge cloud. You're in the deserts of sand and dust and grime and dirt in the air. I was awake for the majority of the incident, and I remember being like, I've been hit, I've been hit here. Kind of said to myself, like, I'm gonna have to look, And I remember starting at my right hand, and I remember seeing into my arm, and I could see like the blood and everything kind of seeping out, and I was like, okay, right, yep. And then I looked down to my right leg, and that's when it kind of dawned on me, like my foot was missing in my right leg, but my knee was bent the wrong way, and my tib and my fib were pointing at me like that, and I remember being like, yeah, okay, right, yeah. And I kind of shifted to my left leg, and that was gone above the knee, shrapnel injuries, and there was blood just kind of like overflowing in my wounds and just like seeping out. And then I looked to my left hand, and I could see, like, you wear gloves and you've got your full length tops, and I could see all this part of my hand, and it was just like red and dark and full of grit. My ring finger and my little finger were like still in my glove, like hanging. And I remember being like, right, yeah, I could have gone, I'm going to bleed to death here and I'm just going to die. But I started saying to myself, like, if you pass out, you will wake up in Birmingham. If you pass out, you will wake up in Birmingham. So the military hospital's in Birmingham, and I remember, you know, if you get injured, you're back to Camp Bastion. You know that, and you know you're going to be in some of the best facilities in the world. And you know within 36 hours you will be back in England in a first-class facility. So that was kind of another thing I was saying to myself over and over again. Like, if you pass out, you wake up in Birmingham. If you pass out, you wake up in Birmingham. I didn't want to accept that if you pass out, you're going to die kind of thing. I was in intensive care for nearly 2 weeks in an induced coma. And when I woke up, I was in Birmingham. And that's really the start of the journey where I was coming to terms with my injuries, and I was going through a lot of surgeries. Like, up to date, I've had like 40 odd different surgeries.
Obviously, you've lost your star number 11, so we've drafted in Nathan Mulhall.
3 months into it, that's when I went to the rehabilitation centre. All the other guys there are in the same boat as you, and you're all there to help each other and to work with each other and push each other. And I had a mate there who got injured on my first tour of Afghanistan. And I remember one day I was knackered and I was laid in my bed, and I was like tired, and he came up to my bed and he was like, right, we're off to the cinema. I was like, I'm not, I'm knackered. And he's like, no, we are. And he started shaking my bed. And he was like, get in your chair, we're off to the cinema. We went to the cinema in the wheelchair bit at the front. And he was like, oh, we're not sitting there. And I remember him putting me on his back. We went up and sat at the back of the cinema, just on his back like Yoda, like carrying me up. And it was one of those moments where I was like, this is ace. And I kind of smiled at myself watching the film. It's all these little moments where you realise, like, other people are there to help you, and it's a team effort really to get going.
Yeah, Mark! I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, mate.
Towards the end of my stint in rehab, we got tickets to London 2012, the Paralympics. went to see wheelchair basketball in the copper box. Because I was quite proud. I was like, I don't want to use a wheelchair. I want to be full prosthetics. I'm not using a wheelchair. I'm not giving up. And I used to see wheelchairs as I don't want to give up on being a wheelchair. And it was me watching wheelchair basketball where I was like, these are athletes at the top of their game. They've got disabilities, they're fit, they are driven, they are in great shape, and they're all committed and they're part of a team. And it's that moment where I was like, I need to get into a team sport here. I need to find a team sport that I can do this, replicate this. That was the start of my wheelchair rugby league journey, and I got into training that next year. It gave me so much those first few years, not just something to get out of the house and do or a sport to do, but it made me so comfortable with my new body and being disabled, and it got me so comfortable using a wheelchair. It's like I'm using a wheelchair here, a sporting equipment like someone would use a canoe or some skis. I'm using it to play sport. So now I've got a chair and I use it at home, and I was like, make my life easier, why not? It's a tool there. Suddenly I was 23, 24, 25, disabled. My body's taken a totally different direction, my whole life has changed. And I was learning off other people within this sport that having a disability is just normal. And I don't now think like, oh, I've got prosthetic legs, I've got injuries, I've got this. It's like, that's not, like, who cares about that? I don't, that's just me. And the sport gave me that back a lot. Like the whole career and job I'd wanted to do since I was a kid was gone. So I had to do something else. And in this sport I did for fun, just to stay fit and active, over the years changed into, I captained the team, the Leeds Rhinos team. I captained it to finals, captained it to trophies. I made amazing friends. I became the ambassador for a World Cup. And now, as a coach, I can give that back as well. We're always going to go for trophies with everything we've got. But I want to get these new players out there, finding new friends, getting fit, staying in shape, and finding a purpose like I did. That for me is the biggest success that I'm aiming for.
First game of the season, our mistakes really crept in about the 65-minute mark when we were tired, but we overcame them and we scored off quite a lot of the back of our mistakes. We put it behind us and we carried on. We played our game, we defended well, and we hardly made any errors. And more importantly, we had fun. First game back. Guys, get around each other. Congratulations, everyone. Big clap.
So when I first started, James was already a player there, and I think you'll happily say this, he didn't speak for about 6 months. Didn't speak to anyone at all for about 6 months, and then sort of come out there and got himself and sort of grew into himself in the game, and that's when probably our relationship blossomed. I'm one of those players that sort of loves to throw an offload or play flamboyantly, and he's the sort of one that reins it in. He sort of kept reins on me, to be honest, and sort of kept me in check on and off the field. And he was my captain at Leeds, and then I was his captain at England. It was sort of a weird transition thing that we had to work through, but he was just like, mate, I'll back you all the way. Like, you don't need to worry about me over checking you or all like that, because I'll have you back with everything I had to say. I said it to him. I'm like, what do you think? What are your ideas on doing this for the team, or what are your ideas on this? And he was amazing with that. He gave me his advice, and he backed me every 100% of the way, and that's what I want. And I did the same for him, as he was my captain as well. And even now as a coach, it's still sort of the same thing, because there's just that mutual respect we have there for each other, and I'll do everything I can for him on the pitch as he's my leader.
My relationship with Simo, we're up there with the oldies in the group at this point. Like, the majority of the squad are like early to mid-20s. When we have sessions with music, everyone groans when it's either mine or Simo's playlist. But from the start, he very much made it clear that it didn't matter what I did within the team, I was welcome there. And to see the journey that he's had, you know, throughout his career, I mean, I got a bit teary when he retired. He's played a massive part in this game growing in this country, and it's been such a privilege to be on that same journey with Simo. I've got so much respect for him, and especially now, he's continuing to impart his knowledge as our coach and continuing that work not only with us but with our community teams too.